What if I told you there's a rare creature tucked away in Tokuno, worth tens of millions of gold coins, and it only appears if you know how to make it spawn? This is Winter Spur, a remote, icy battleground that just might reward you with one of the most coveted tames in the game. This region is the home of the legendary polar bear. Winter Spur is located at the northern tip of the Tokuno Islands, near the Fan Dancer Dojo. It's separated from the rest of Isamujima by a mountain range, with only a narrow passage through a cave connecting it to the mainland. The area is packed with aggressive creatures, including the dangerous frost dragon, ice elementals, and ladies of the snow. If you enjoy this content, please consider giving the video a thumbs up or subscribing to the channel. Now, looking closely at the attributes of the creatures here, you'll notice a clear pattern. They all have a weakness to fire damage. Because of that, I'm bringing a fire beetle. It deals 100% fire damage, which is the most effective type against these ice-themed enemies. That said, other well-trained pets can work too, if they're matched properly to the enemy's resistances. It's always smart to match your pet's strongest damage types to the enemy's weakest resistances. Winter Spur is a perfect example of this principle in action. The creatures here are not only vulnerable to fire, but also tend to deal high amounts of cold-based damage. So, the ideal pet is one that has maximum fire-based damage and strong resistance to cold damage. When a pet hits an enemy, its damage is divided into elemental types, totaling 100%. Each type is reduced by the target's corresponding resistance. For example, if a fire beetle deals 100% fire damage and the target has 50% fire resistance, only 50% of the damage is applied. When the Inferno ability is triggered, it lowers the target's fire resistance by 25% for 6 seconds and displays an effect similar to the Flame Strike spell. This makes the pet's fire-based attacks more effective. Using the same example, if the resistance drops from 50% to 25%, then 75% of the fire damage is applied instead of 50%, boosting the fire beetle's effective damage output. Choosing the right pet can make the difference between success and failure in a fight. This elemental resistance mechanic also applies to weapons, and you can combine weapon damage with your pets for even better results. To figure out an enemy's weakest resistance, you can either check a wiki like ServUO guide, or use animal lore directly on the creature. I recommend setting up a macro for using animal lore quickly. It makes resistance checks much smoother during a fight. It's also important to use a pet with the highest possible cold and physical resistance, since those are the two primary damage types dealt by the creatures in Winter Spur. The only exception is the polar bear, which does a 50-50 split between cold and energy damage. Fire beetles are easy to acquire in the fire dungeon. They always start as one-slot pets with no abilities. For more information, check out ServUO. They also work as a portable forge. All mobs in Winter Spur are susceptible to bard skills, though the frost dragon poses the greatest difficulty. A good tactic is to provoke enemies to attack one another while your pet tanks. Winter Spur can be tackled solo, but it's significantly more manageable with a small group. The bard tamer build is very effective here, although an archer tamer or paladin tamer would also work well. Just remember, you'll need to adjust your skills to ensure you have 120 in both animal taming and animal lore to have a chance at triggering a legendary polar bear spawn, and to be able to attempt to tame it if one appears. For my build, I've swapped out Discordance for Veterinary. This allows me to heal, cure, and resurrect my pet more easily. Spell weaving also works well, thanks to spells like Gift of Life and Gift of Renewal. Legendary polar bears only spawn here in Winter Spur, but they won't spawn on a timer. You'll need to keep clearing rare polar bears to trigger one to appear. There are two versions of the legendary, and one is known as the Murder Bear. It's easily recognized by its blood-red hue and is believed to have a hidden special ability, a rage attack. If you're interested in the specific stats of this creature, check out the ServUO Live wiki. If one spawns, it's important to be prepared. Have a plan for how you'll handle the tame. Peace taming is a solid strategy, and Ethereal Voyage combined with Honor taming can also be effective, especially since the area can get crowded with mobs. If you're attempting a tame, try and use terrain to your advantage. Pull mobs away from the legendary spawn spot first and clear the area before the tame begins. And be careful not to accidentally use area damage near a legendary. If it dies before you tame it, you'll need to start the spawn cycle all over again. According to the wiki, legendaries take up 2 control slots. That means you could bring a 3-slot pet with you, or if you're using a 5-slot pet, have a pet leash ready so you can quickly shrink it. Winter Spur is a unique and challenging zone. With the right prep, persistence, and strategy, you can turn the grind into a huge payoff, possibly scoring the rare and powerful legendary polar bear.